All right, so this is the second day of notes for our linear systems. So we've learned how to solve using graphs for linear systems, but of course the problem with graphs is you can't get an exact answer. It's just not possible with a hand graph. Even a grapher won't give you an exact answer. If the answer is like 1/3, it won't come up with 1/3. It'll come up with a rounded answer like 0.33. So even a grapher can't really graph with the perfect answer. But algebraically gives us the chance to come up with an exact answer, an answer with no error in it. And substitution method, I call it our workhorse method because honestly, we probably use substitution more than any other solving method. It just works on practically everything. So one of the biggest pluses in using this method is it can give you any type of answer. So it can give you fractions. It can give you answers with like pi in them. Pretty much everything is open season when it comes to substitution methods. You can find anything. The other big plus about substitution method, it is versatile. Really versatile. It will usually work. And it works with weird equations. It works with a great many things. It's not limited at all. Okay, so the downside to substitution method is that it tends to be a longer algebraic method. And we'll talk later about how do you pick which method to use? What is strategically the best one to use for a certain situation? Okay, so Roman numeral 1, we're going to go over the steps. Most people do it visually, but I like to give you the steps in case you get stuck on your homework and you just need to go step by step through the process. So here's the step. Number 1, you're going to solve one equation for one variable. Solve one equation for one variable. And there's generally, for what we're going to be doing, 4 choices. You get to pick, and we'll talk about how to pick the easiest one possible. But yeah, you definitely get to pick which choice you like to start with. Okay, step number 2. You're going to substitute the result, and I'm going to put the word result in a box because on the work, you're going to put it box around the result. So substitute the result into the other equation. And that's why this gets its name, substitution method, because you substitute one equation into the other. Okay, so on step 3, now you should have an equation that only has x's or only has y's. So you're going to solve, and you're either going to get x equals a number or y equals a number, one of the two, but you will actually get an answer. Okay, step 4. Now that you've got a numeric answer, you're going to substitute the answer, the one you just got. So substitute the answer into the first equation. And again, I'm going to put a box around this because the first equation is the one that's in the box. So you're going to substitute the answer into the first equation where it's in the box and solve. Substitute the answer into the first equation and solve. All right, last thing, your answer is what we call an ordered pair, which usually means the x goes first and the y, they have to have a comma in between and parentheses around them. They cannot exist without each other. The answer must come as a pair. You can't have an x and not a y. If you've got a's and b's, of course, a would come first, b would come second because it's alphabetical. Every once in a while, you get one that's caps and lower cases. In that case, the capital A goes before the lowercase a. So if you run into that, the cap comes first. All right, that is the basic steps for the process. Okay, so now we're going to do an example. We're going to do 3x plus y equals 5 and 2x minus y equals 10. Okay, when you solve this, you can solve for the first x, the first y, the second x, or the second y. You have 4 ways to start the problem, but the easiest way to do it is to look for what I call the lonely only. Your lonely only, what's the loneliest number? 1. 1 is the loneliest number. So you're looking for the 1x or the 1y. That's going to be the easiest one to start with. So out of those 4 choices, I'm going to start with the plus y. That's the lonely only. So once you've figured out which equation you're going to use, then we're going to write that one down. And I'm going to put the step numbers next to it so you know what step we're talking about. So step 1 is solve one equation for one variable. So rewrite 3x plus y equals 5. And you did this when we were graphing. You solved for y, so this is pretty easy. We're going to subtract 3x over to the right, and we get y equals negative 3x plus 5. Put a box around the right-hand side. So you've done step 1. You've solved one equation for one variable. We've solved for y. Okay, go ahead and write your second equation over here on the right-hand side, which is the one we didn't use. So 2x minus y equals 10. And your second step is you're going to take what you got in this box and you are going to replace every y with what's in the box. That's step 2. Most of the time, you're going to want to use parentheses, especially if that letter's being multiplied. In this case, the y is being multiplied by a negative, so you want to definitely use your parentheses. Okay, so let's substitute that in. So scoot your 2x over a little bit. So 2x minus, and here's where I'm subbing it in, negative 3x plus 5 equals 10. So we substituted the result into the equation. Now you'll know that you did it right if there's all x's or all y's. If you still have x's and y's, that means you replaced the wrong one. You just need to go back and replace the other letter, because you have to have one letter to be able to solve this. And that is your third step, which is you're going to solve for x. So this is, again, review stuff. You know how to do this. We start by distributing the negative. So we get 2x plus 3x minus 5 equals 10. Most of the time with this style of problem, you're going to have some simplifying to do on the left. So in this case, add a 2x to a 3x and get a 5x. If you want, you can put the line down the middle because we are just doing basic solving here. So to get x on the left, we add the 5 over to the right. So we get 5x equals 15. Multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/5. And we get x equals 5 goes into 15 3 times. So we got our first letter. This is the longest part of the equation. That's why we put it on the right-hand side, because it gives the most space. Okay, so now we're ready for step 4, which is to substitute the answer back into the first equation. The first equation is really easy to find because it's in a big box. So we're going to substitute that x into that equation. Again, using parentheses because the x is being multiplied by the negative 3. So y equals negative 3 times 3 for my x plus 5. And then you're basically just simplifying the right-hand side. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Negative 9 plus 5 is a negative 4. And we have solved for our second variable. Okay, so the last step in the process is to write your solution as an ordered pair. So the solution is 3 for the x, negative 4 for the y. And if this much math, it's a good idea to put a box around your solution. Okay, so at your table, I'll have to do this in a second. Never mind. Okay, that is the basic process. Okay, so we're going to do one more of these, and then we're actually going to get a story problem pattern today as well. All right, so let's do another one of these. Example 2. Example 2, we've got 2x plus 6y equals 15. And x equals 2y. Hello? Yes? Yes. Mm-hmm. Alex, you're going to Mrs. Janikowski's office? Okay, so on your worksheet, sometimes they try to make it easy and then it messes people up because it's so easy, it's hard. So on this one, they've actually solved for a letter already. Look at it. The x, the lonely only, is already on one side of an equation. So definitely start with that one. I call it free gift. It's your free gift. So your gift is x equals 2y. It's already solved, so just put a box around the right-hand side. Okay, now write the other equation on the right. 2x plus 6y equals 15. Now, in the beginning, I'm actually going to have you draw the arrows because it's really important that your brain picks up that substitution pattern. And by drawing the arrow, you're actually helping your visual brain memorize. So we're going to replace that x. Okay, so we've got 2, and then use your parentheses, replace the x with a 2y plus 6y equals 15. All right, line down the middle, we're going to solve this. 2 times 2y is 4y plus 6y equals 15. As usual, there's stuff to simplify on the left. We can add the 4 and the 6 together, and that gives us a 10y equals 15. Multiply by the reciprocal of 10, which is 1 over 10. And that gives us y equals 15 over 10. We should reduce that fraction. 15 is 3 times 5. 10 is 2 times 5. Take out the 5s. We get y equals 3/2 as our first answer. Now that we've got our first answer, we're going to substitute it back into the first equation. Look for the box. So put the arrow to the box and fill it in. So x equals 2 and replace y. So times 3/2. Nicely enough, the 2's cancel. We get x equals 3. So our solution is the ordered pair, 3 for the x, 3/2 for the y. Any questions about this process, about substitution? So on your homework, it's going to look just like this. After we get done like learning the basics, you can show it however you want. But in the beginning, I want one equation on the left, one equation on the right, and I want to see the arrows in the boxes. By the way, you'll do that on the test as well, because that way I can follow your work. Sometimes these get a little hard to follow. Okay, so that's substitution method. So Roman numeral 2, second thing we're going to cover today are some basic number problems. Okay, when you do number problems, you're looking for two numbers, obviously. Your solution is going to be in roster notation. So a brace and then an X and a Y with a brace. It's not an ordered pair. It's just two answers. So the big idea for the pattern is you're going to look for two relationships and you're going to write two equations from those relationships. And then you'll use substitution method to actually solve your two equations. So there's some important words you need to know. Some of these you'll know exactly what it means. Others maybe you haven't thought of. Real important words are words like equals, is, will be, or was. All of those indicate an equal sign. So those are really important words to look for, probably the most important. Other words that you're going to need to know are, some of these, sum, which means add, difference. Difference is subtraction. It's the first number minus the second number that they give you. So like the difference of 4 and 2 is 2. The difference of 2 and 4 is -2. So in this one, the order matters. The first number comes first minus the second number. The word product. Product means multiply. We've worked with the word quotient, which means divide. And if you're going to do quotient, it's always the first over the second, whatever they mention first over the second. So like the quotient of 16 and 2 is 16 over 2, which is 8. So first number over second number. If you see more than, that means add. Like if I have 3 more than him, then it's his stuff plus 3. Less than works the same way. Less than is subtraction. If I have 4 less shoes than my brother, I can take my brother's shoe number and subtract 4 because I have 4 less than him. So those are some other keywords that you're going to see. Okay, let's do an example. The sum of two numbers is 82. One number is 12 more than the other. And for this first day, your problems are going to have like one sentence per equation. They're pretty good about that. Later, they'll mix it up. But in the beginning, it's just one sentence per equation. Okay, so labeling it as you go can make the equation writing really pretty simple. So if you just write above the words what they're talking about. For example, you know that the word sum means add. So just write the word add above the word sum. And it's the sum of two numbers. So we're going to use X and Y for our two numbers. And then we've got one of those really important words, is. Is means equals. So our first equation is the sum adding X and Y. So X plus Y is 82 equals 82. Okay, so now let's do the second one. One number. Okay, let's make that number X. Is, there's our equal sign. X is, one number is 12 more than means add the other. Well, the other, if we're working with X, the other is Y. So now let's write that down. One number, X, is equals, now we're going to add 12 more than y. So 12 plus y. So by breaking down the words and writing the math above it, you can make it pretty easy to put your equations together. Okay, we're going to solve this now using substitution. They've already done one for you. That's the x. They've already solved for x. So let's use that one as our first equation. X equals 12 plus y. Put a box around the 12 plus y. Okay, write the other equation up here on the right-hand side, which is x plus y equals 82. And we are going to replace the x with the 12 plus y. Now, in this case, the x isn't being multiplied by anything, so you don't need parentheses. You can just write in 12 plus y without parentheses. All right, now we have one equation with only y's. We can solve for y. So first of all, let's simplify. Y plus y is 2y. So I have 12 plus 2y equals 82. I want to get the 2y alone, so I subtract 12 over to the right. So 2y equals 70. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by a half. And half of 70 is 35. That's your first number. On the number questions, your numbers should turn out to be whole numbers, not fractions. They will always be whole numbers. Okay, so now we take what we got, which is 35. We substitute it back into the first equation, which is this one here in the box. So x equals 12, and instead of plus y, we're going to go plus 35. And 12 plus 35 is 47. Okay, so these are not an ordered pair. So when you write your solution, you're going to use roster notation. So give it a brace. It's 35 and 47, end with the brace. You always use roster when you're just listing values. Any questions about how to do a number problem?